Hey guys, Nick here, and I've got my buddy Steve here, walking you through this beginning series of how to get into 40K from the lore to the hobby to the playing of your first game. We are walking two newbies through it that we are both coaching.
We're gonna go through some very, very simple techniques to get you from gray plastic to something that is looking fantastic and battle ready for your games. We're on the clock, so are you ready?
Let's go. Welcome, my name is Nicholas, I've got Rebecca here, and we're excited to welcome you to another episode as we walk through building and painting your first miniature.
I am very excited. I really want to open up this box.
I have never built a miniature before. I'm a bit terrified, but since winning all of those tools from the Kill Team series, I think I'm gonna have a much easier time doing it.
There are a plethora of tools and techniques out there, all of which can overwhelm and confuse you. The bare minimums you need are something to cut with, something to paint with, and some paint. Best place to start is find someplace to work with. You need a table or a desk or a platform. I've seen people paint on their laps. I've seen people paint on the airplane. Next, we need some miniatures. Do we have some miniatures?
Yes, we do!
It's unopened even.
I know, can I open it now?
Yes, you can!
Yes!
She has been asking me like pretty much every day.
I can't wait.
Although we're gonna guide you through this first one, I'm expecting you to build all the rest by, I don't know, next week?
Sure. Sure.
Take your time. Something like this can easily take people months.
There looks to be quite a lot of models in here. Like, so by the end, you're kind of like, yeah, let's go.
There is something to that because, yeah, you've chosen something where there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
So
you're gonna help me, right?
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a combat patrol. What you'll typically find is a starter army.
Ooh. Oh, wow. Okay, what's this? Oh, it shows you how to put it together.
It does. We have some bases, the instruction manual, and then we have the sprues themselves.
Ooh. So this becomes this.
Indeed. Eventually, this will become this.
As my first paint job, it'll look
Oh yeah, just,
like this,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Well, this is a very basic paint job. You can do this.
Wow, there are so many pieces in here. Yeah, see, I knew I chose this army for a reason. Look how cool they look. I think I would like to go with the warrior.
So we're gonna build a Tyrannid warrior today. It's about yay big when it's finished, yes. And it will look disgusting.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we're gonna need
all of these?
Next, we're gonna need something to cut this sprue with. So the very best tool to use is a pair of clippers. I have these really cheap blue ones here. The sharper and more flat the edges, it's gonna help you get better cuts because we have to cut out the miniatures we need without leaving extra bits on it.
Right, they don't just pop out like a toffee fay.
No, you can't just come out. You'll be okay here today.
When you're assembling your army, how often do you poke yourself, cut yourself, glue yourself together? Like how often does that happen?
Safety is important. For instance, always point your knife away from yourself when you're cutting, never point towards yourself. You're using sharp implements. Be safe. So, the first instruction we have of how to assemble this miniature is right up here.
Right up here.
It tells us what we're gonna be building, and these are the parts we're gonna need to assemble it. We can take a look at our sprue, and there are numbers labeled right on it. So you just take your clippers. There are two edges to a clipper. You put the flat end of the clippers against the miniature, try to get it as close as possible, and it'll pop right out. Your first sprue!
Yes!
So it looks like we missed a little bit of plastic there, not a problem. We can simply take our clippers, or you grab a hobby knife and shave it away carefully. You're also looking for what's called mold lines. Sometimes with how plastic is made, there's a line around where the mold came together. If you find these, they can be quite ugly. So sometimes if you take a simple hobby knife and you just run a knife along the edge of it, you can clean up that mold line and get rid of the line.
Right.
Now, this is a monster. It has organic features.
Yeah.
It has
battle wounds,
chitinous plate and stuff like that. It could be a battle wound. So you've chosen an army that's pretty forgiving if you make a mistake. Not a bad idea.
Yes, that was my goal.
And now this miniature is ready for gluing.
Excellent. Ooh.
There are two major kinds of glue that you might use in assembling a miniature. There is plastic glue and super glue. Plastic glue literally melts the plastic together. You put the plastic glue on one side, you connect the two pieces together, you hold it for enough time together, and it bonds it somewhat permanently. Today we're going to be using super glue. It's a fast drying glue that will super glue 2 parts together.
And probably other things together.
Yes, I have super glued my fingers many times.
So it's a use with adult supervision kind of glue.
Also be warned, it does give off a little bit of vapor, so having a well-ventilated area is wise and healthy. I suggest before you actually put any glue on it, you put the 2 pieces together, see if they fit right, and see if they fit how you want.
I want all my Tyranids doing a high kick.
Great, it looks like it fits well together. I'll stick some glue, put it in the hole on the torso there.
It's happening. It's all so real. I'm putting it together.
Less is more. You don't want to go too much glue because it'll push outwards and it'll consume the model and you'll have glue marks all over the model. Now, avoid getting it on your hands. Good to maybe have some paper towel ready just in case. And you want to hold it together for maybe a count of 10. You should be able to remove your hands and it stays. Ta-da! Yay, you glued your first miniature!
Yay!
All right, we've got some legs, we've got a torso. We're ready to move on to the rest of the model.
All right.
At this point, we're gonna cut out all the rest of the pieces for this miniature and glue them all together.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? Was that fun? Was that scary? Do you feel a sense of accomplishment?
At first it was a little bit scary, just like taking those first snips. You don't want to mess up. Watching you do it is one thing, but actually doing it properly is another.
Do you feel fully confident you could do the rest?
I think so. I think with this instruction manual, I can definitely do this by myself.
I believe in you.
Yeah, I can do it. Maybe there's so many, I might need help.
For this next step, I think I might bring in someone you know and love, Space Marine Steve, who's gonna guide you through the painting process.
Awesome, okay.
Before we go further in this episode, our sponsor for this series is Wayland Games. They have a host of great deals and discounts on tabletop gaming, including 20% off of Games Workshop, Infinity, and Malvo. When you are starting 40K, well, you're gonna need your first hobby supplies, you're gonna need your first miniatures, and they might be the perfect place for you to go to.
Huge selections, great deals.
They aren't just an online retailer, they also have a friendly local gaming center that holds regular events for Magic the Gathering, Flesh and Blood, Warhammer, Infinity, and much more. The Wayland Games hobby blog is full of the latest projects and competitions staff are taking part in. The staff's hobby and industry knowledge alongside their dedicated support team has helped Wayland achieve 30,000 plus reviews with a 4.9 stars on Trustpilot. A big thank you to Wayland Games for sponsoring this series because without them, we wouldn't be able to do this series. So thank you to them and make sure to check them out in the description below.
I've never painted my own army before. I've done painting on, adding accents of slime, but I've never actually made the decision, chose the color scheme, and painted an army before.
Hey, what's up?
You see?
You built it. That's awesome.
Are you terrified of it?
Almost. I would be more terrified if it were a terrifying color.
Ooh.
So I think that it's time to show you the ins, the outs, the ups, the downs of hobby painting. Why are you laughing? First step is priming the miniature, and the reason that's such a key step is because it basically gives you like a launch pad, a diving board, and it helps the paint kind of adhere to the actual model. There's a whole bunch of different brands. Here in the studio, we have a bunch of Vallejo primers, so we're gonna use some of that. And of course, always test spray. Don't just spray. I have ruined so many things. What if you've lost the cap and it's not the right color and you accidentally spray the wrong color on whatever it is you're trying to do? Or, like me, and you accidentally spray color when you thought it was varnish. And you ruin it. I've ruined it. So we'll do a test spray, and then we're gonna prime this Tyranid warrior here, and we'll see how it goes. Let's rock and roll. I wanna kinda dust the miniature, make sure that you're going in nice thin coats. So, how to contrast paint.
Okay.
Contrast paints are relatively new. It shades and bases and highlights kind of all at the same time. And so it also allows beginner painters to paint quickly, paint well, and get all those stages done all in one swipe of the brush. These ones up here in Canada cost about $9 Canadian. My suggestion to you would be, one, go with what's available and within your price range. And pick the colors that you like. Next, it's a good idea to have some water handy. Sometimes you need to water down paints, clean off your brush, etc. Is there actually water in it? Yeah. And then also a little bit of paper towel. It's also good for just cleaning off your brushes, drying your brushes, etc. And if you get anything on your hands. So with all these tools, we're ready to paint. So I have 2 miniatures in front of me. One of them is the Tech Priest Dominus here from the Imperium that we've primed in white. And then the other right here is, Rebecca, this is your Tyranid Warrior that we have primed in black. There are multiple methods of painting with contrast paints, and I wanted to show a little bit of both. So the first method, this is a very, very direct method. You paint the model white, and then you apply the contrast paints onto the sections of the model that you want to be that color. And it is absolutely that simple. So the second method of painting, and this has actually gotten a really fun internet name, Rebecca. This is called the slap chop.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, the slap chop, that's a bit of just internet jargon. And what it is, you start from black, you end up dry brushing a little bit of gray, a little bit of white, and then after that, you put your contrast paints right on top of the model. The contrast paint colors it all, and you get a lot more intense highlighting, and it's a good method of using your contrast paints. Dry brushing is an effective tool to get nice and easy results really quickly. You are filling the brush with a little bit of paint, and then the goal here is to place paint just onto the ridges of the actual model itself. Just a little drop of paint. Take that, and mix it a little bit, and you can pull it around. This is very, very thin kind of primer paint, so this might require a couple of coats. However, some paint's a lot thicker, and if it is a lot thicker, that means you might need to add some water to it. This is pretty thin, it's good working consistency, so we're just gonna work with it. What you want is to be thin enough for you to work with and easily come off of your brush. So what you want to do is you want to start with dark gray, just a little bit, just to get it on the edges, right? And then what I do to test it is put it into the palm of my hand a little bit. And what you're looking for is kind of like a cloudy result. It'll look like that. And then what you do is you pick up your model and you want to very gently start to brush the model, hitting as much of the raised ridges as you possibly can. Okay? So here we go. And you go until you've got all the color that you kind of need. You really want to push paint as far over the model as you can, just making sure you're leaving some of those darker areas black. A really good way to think about this would be, I want this to look like it's right from a black and white movie. Monochromatic, gray and white and black. So now that we've got a good color of gray on our entire model, what we have to do is we have to go over it, doing almost the same thing, but with white instead.
I feel like I could do this. This doesn't look too intimidating. I think I've got a good grasp on how to prime and how to give it that quick gray coat by dry brushing it.
Are you having fun, Rebecca?
Yes!
You ready to paint?
I am ready to paint.
So, starting with this nice vibrant color. So
Yes.
this is where the fun part,
Woo!
this is where the fun part starts. Picking the appropriate sized brush for the job that you're going to be doing. While you don't need a gigantic brush, you don't need a super ultra tiny brush either. If you're doing base painting like this, go with something that says like maybe medium on it and stick with those, and then try your best to be accurate with that. Something that I don't ever recommend doing is going directly from pot or bottle to model. Always have something like to put it on so you don't have too much paint on your brush. I think I'm gonna do the head and the carapace here, and then I'm gonna let you just kind of go for it.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm excited watching you paint that. I was like, come on, it's my turn.
So here, the contrast paint, as you can see, is leaving the raised areas, seeping into all the crevices, and it lets us see that really bright white that we've placed on top of it. If I can get a new painter to do something like this, where they're gonna see the effects of their work and be very proud of it, they're gonna be more inclined to continue going because the mountain won't feel so daunting to climb. Things to watch out for, you gotta now be careful that we're not gonna be putting this skeleton horde color on top of our nice vibrant green. We wanna leave that vibrant green being the way that it is.
Okay. That looks freaking awesome.
So see how you can identify like where all the recesses are. You can identify that there's like bends and shapes in his leg and muscles. Fidelity is you being able to actually pick out all those things.
Okay.
You being able to be like, oh, this is brighter, that's darker. The color here is more intense, that's not. So let's talk about basing. Basing is just making our models look like they're strolling through an environment. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some sand, and then we're gonna put a little bit of static grass on there too. And you'll get to see the final product of your Tyranid warrior strolling through a bit of an arid meadow. So we're done. What do you think?
I had a lot of fun putting it together and painting it. I
Yeah.
think this looks really cool. I can't wait to see what an entire army painted like that will look like.
And they definitely do have like, they have a hanging out with their friends effect where like together they even start to look better.
Right.
And so we did this in like about an hour, right? And that was with me teaching Rebecca each step. And you know what? This is something that is absolutely achievable for somebody for their first miniature, and it looks good. It looks really, really good. So using the contrast method is a great way to get going, and if we can do this, you can definitely do this. So if you like what you are seeing here, please like, subscribe, go down to the comments and tell us what you think, and just stay tuned to the series as we walk Rebecca towards her very first game.